Hey everybody, wait, put yourself back in the middle. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's late night happy hour with the Kamenetzky Brothers. Brian Kamenetzky on your left, I believe, tonight. Andy on the right, and in the middle. Now this is a source of controversy, Andy, because when last time we had Mo on, we said Mo Dakhil. And then we have Dave Dufour from The Athletic on, and he says it's Dakhil.
Or as we like to call him, Dave Dufour.
Dave Dufour. And then Mo, in the middle of that episode, actually gets on social media as we're doing this and says, "Oh, either one is fine," which is not okay. That is not how this works. Like,
no.
Your name has a correct pronunciation, and pick a lane and tell us what it is. Because if I mispronounce your name, I want it to be an intentional sign of disrespect. I don't want it to be accidental. So
it's you want it to be like if I want to call you Andy.
Yes, exactly. I want it to be nakedly obvious that I am disrespecting you.
Or it's like we when we covered the Lakers during the Mike Brown tenure, he continually referred to Andrew Goudlock as Andrew Goodlock. Which we felt was a form of rookie hazing because, Mike Brown, he's he's one of the nicest coaches I've ever been around, but Goudlock was a rookie. And, although I guess maybe he could have been misinformed because
it was absolutely 100% Goudlock was a rookie and Mike Brown did not bother learning how to say it.
I was going to say the only reason that perhaps it could have been unintentional, or at least allow the possibility, is what we all learned this year with Isaac Bonga. We all learned that Bonga's first name is pronounced Isaac and not Isaac.
Right.
And literally nobody on the Lakers was aware of this.
Well, but I mean, the only thing I'll say about that is Isaac is sort of a different pronunciation of Isaac. It's not like it was pronounced Isaac, like it's written Isaac and we called him Isaac, but it was actually pronounced, Steve.
Right.
that would have been.
But it's not that much far off from Goudlock and Goodlock.
Right. That to me is 100%. That guy's a rookie, and he's lucky I even know half of his name.
Right. He's just happy to have him
clear it up. So Mo, pick a lane. What is the right way to say your name?
Or do you want us to put it on a poll?
We're not going to leave it to the public because I don't trust them. Sorry,
Let's let
folks.
America decide how to say it.
So the thing is, because I come from Libya, it's a very Arabic-sounding name, and it's hard for a lot of people to pronounce it. But it's Dakhil.
All right.
Right? And not a lot of people go with that. So, you can go Dakhil, you can go Dakhil. I get Dakhil. I'm at the point where I'm just like, I'm too tired. I don't need to correct it.
But how should we be doing?
Right. Without the part, it's closer to Dakhil than it is Dakhil.
Yeah. It's closer to Dakhil.
I could have used that information the first time we had you on the show. I'm just saying.
But it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. So it's not like I don't think about it.
It bothers us.
Right.
Well,
it bothers us that you screwed up so badly not correcting us. Like, we feel like you made fools of us eventually, because then we end up getting corrected by Dave Dufour about the way you're actually supposed to say your name.
Dufour.
Well, I liked it whenever I'm frustrated with Dave. I just like to call him Dave Do 3. I downgrade him. And if he really annoys me, it's Dave Do 2.
But if he does a great job, Dave Do 5.
Yeah, there's upgrades. Every now and then when he does well, that's an upgrade.
He really crushes a podcast. Dave Do 10.
All right. So
I don't let him get that high.
Mo Dakhil, thank you for coming back on the show. Of course, you know him from Bleacher Report, from the podcast on The Athletic. He's part of the Nerder She Wrote podcast, which is now on Fridays, right? Correct, Mo? We've learned the new lineup is now going to be on Fridays. Finish your week with Mo. I believe that's your official tagline.
If not, it should be.
Give it time. So the big news, and there's a lot to do with the NBA tonight. First of all, digging on the hair that you got going on today. It's similar in volume, not quite, but almost like a couple more months of the pandemic, and you could have yourself some Brandon Ingram like volume.
I'm coming for him, Bi.
You're getting
I'm
it.
coming for you, Bi. I'm gonna try to do this. Let's see if we can get. I just don't think I have enough volume in general. Like his hair is, I just don't think it's there.
It's going to start. It'll start going up, but then it'll just sort of fall over at some point.
Well, like what's funny, it's like anytime I get out of the shower, I just brush it back, comb it back, and everything. Roll with it, and within a half hour to 45 minutes, it just poofs and does whatever the hell it wants after that. Sometimes it's, some sides are going to the right, some are going to the left. There's no communication, no teamwork or synergy with the head of hair at all. They're all just trying to do their own thing.
But for 45 minutes, are you going Gordon Gecko?
Yeah, I mean, I just have it slicked back and
Nice.
slicked back in terms of just wet, and then it's
that's perfect because you got an '80s mustache, like slicked back there. Like I feel like you're reclaiming just a different time, a simpler time in our lives.
I just
time
like
we all wish we can go back to.
But what happens? What happened? Because like what we're seeing now is not Gordon Gecko. I mean, quite frankly,
I just have no control.
Sopan Deb was up last night until like 3 a.m. doing our show, and seemed kind of like less rolled out of bed than you look.
By the way, shout out to him. I mean, there's no way I could have a functional conversation. I mean, people don't think I could have one at 11 a.m. So there's no way I could do what he did last night.
We kept confirming to Sopan, you're aware this is live and we're in LA. Right? Like, I mean, because
he doesn't know about time zones.
I wouldn't do this show. Like, I mean, when I say for someone else, I don't mean for someone else. I mean, I wouldn't do my own show at 1 a.m.
Oh no! If they moved our time slot to 1 a.m., both of us would be absent.
It would just be an empty.
It would just it would be the guest and the little bottom third there for vsliquor.com, the easiest way to get your liquor delivered right to your door. And if you do that right now, you get 15% off your first order. You put sports right there in the checkout. You do that. Now, Mo, of course, having been on the show before, is no longer eligible for the first time thing. He'd have to use some sort of burner account.
I got a few. I'll pull them out.
Nice. That's how you get down arguing with Durant?
Actually, no. It's all for these types of promo codes for the first whatever. I have a few emails I can go through to continue to get that discount.
What's that website, Honey, where it like goes through and finds all the that's Moses' own Honey.
Once I find a discount I like, I stay with it. That's it.
So my favorite news of the day by far today in the NBA, there were a few things that came out overnight that were pretty good. And we'll get to Bruno Caboclo, and we'll get to what exactly was Rashawn Holmes ordering that was so delicious he had to cross the border of the quarantine zone to go get it.
I will be right back.
Okay. This happened to me last night. I had to take the lemon bread out of the oven. So we're doing this stuff at home. My wife could not get out of the bed because my middle son is sort of scared of a lot of things right now. So he wasn't unable to get out of the bed, so I had to go take the lemon bread out. Did you have lemon bread in the oven, Andy? Oh, he forgets the headphones aren't back in yet. So we thought maybe you had some lemon bread in the oven like I had last night.
No. I was just adjusting the temperature in the room. It's getting a little warm.
Okay, so Shams reports that the NBA Snitch line is officially up and running and has received calls. Gentlemen, I ask you this. On a scale of 1 to 10, first of all, how awesome is the NBA Snitch line? It's like a 12. And how active do you think it's going to be throughout the pandemic?
I mean, first off, it's a Dave do 415 level of
Dave do 15.
Dave do 15 level of entertainment for all of us. I mean, I think it's going to get play. I think when you look at it in the serious side of things, is guys want to make sure the league sticks. They're able to finish this, and this is stuff that some of the guys said going into the bubble, going like, "Hey, I'm not worried about me or my teammates sticking to this. I'm worried about some of the other guys." And so this is something that they're working out to. I'm just curious if when you call the Snitch line, do these guys like whisper into the phone? And, you know, is it like, you know, like how I just kind of want to know how they're going.
I think Andy, they do accent work. Oh, I saw LeBron James and Anthony Davis playing doubles ping pong the other day. Oh my goodness, they should be punished.
Crikey, the violation.
By the way, it's the only accent I'm capable of doing. Is a broad and disturbingly like sort of pandering Irish accent. It's all I'm capable of.
Well, I mean, look, all kidding aside, I mean, we will get to all of these snitch line jokes throughout this hour and change, I should say.
I've got a bunch written down.
They need to have this, though. Like, I mean, there really is no point to doing this if the players aren't going to police themselves, and if you want to call that narking on each other, fine. Because as long as these calls are being done in earnest, and they're not just being done to kneecap opponents, and, you know, like take out guys.
Right. Hold that thought, because we're going to go there.
Sure. Oh, no. Of course we're going to go there. But I'm just saying, as long as that's not the reason, like, if guys aren't going to hold each other accountable, they might as well pack up the bubble and go home. I mean, because for real, there's no point to doing
deflate
this.
Your bubble and go home.
Yeah. Just let the air out. You know, like it's the world. You know, it's that happiest inflatable swimming pool on earth, and leave. Because what's the point? I mean, you have to be doing this.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. It's just you need to be able to have that outlet so that guys can call. Now, you know, I'm curious who are the investigators who are taking the call as well and having to figure out what's real and what isn't.
Well, CJ McCollum has something of a journalism degree, correct? Like he's the closest thing to like a reporter among the active players. You know,
has anybody called on reporters? Has anybody been like, hey,
have we seen any reporters wandering the hallways like Bruno Caboclo, just not realizing they're not supposed to be out of the room yet?
I mean, maybe the reporters are actually there doubling as snitch line people. Like, you know, Malika Andrews got cleared to wander the campus pretty quickly. If you follow what I'm saying,
it's like a call center for a large insurance company. like when they're not, right. They have nowhere. They're not allowed to go anywhere, so they just are made to sit there and answer phone calls. Wait a minute, is that
like okay? When you dial in, like, you know, if there's an options like, you know, press 1 for a cited violation of the bubble rules, do you think it starts getting specific to like players? Like press 2 for Kyle Kuzma, press 3, like just the guys who are the guys that you think about. All right, who's most likely to do this?
Kuz just has his own number. Like if he's got there's like a separate thing for
Kuz line.
If you saw James Harden leave the bubble, press 1.
Or just call ahead to the strip club you suspect he's at.
Right.
Do you think it's like the pharmacy though? Like the first 3 letters of their last name?
Well, you better get that right. You got some player who's been hermited up in his room, and all of a sudden, like this, like SWAT team is bursting through his windows. Like that's the other thing. I really hope that, like, whoever gets suspected of it, like you just have like a SWAT team like bursting through the windows, like glass breaking. They do like a flying somersault in. Like I want this to be as over the top as possible.
Yes.
Oh, it's the snitch line is my favorite thing of this. So, but like, what percentage do you think is going to be? No, seriously, this guy's out and like risking the sanctity of the bubble, which is a real thing. Like, if you're going to go through all this, like Andy said,
yes.
And then what percentage is dudes just getting really bored in mid-August and just looking for something to do?
I mean, I got to think at least half might be real and genuine and stuff. Like, I think the guys are serious about this, but if you're the Lakers, if you're the Clippers.
Oh, no. Where'd everybody go?
They're the ones that are going to be all invested in this thing and making sure it sticks. So I think they're the ones that are going to be really disciplined with it.
That was weird. Did you guys see that too? You all
yes,
disappeared
I
for
was
a
just going
second.
to go.
I don't know what that was.
I mean, look,
that was professionally done, Mo. You just came right back and kept talking, as if nothing happened.
It is perhaps telling that so far the only guys who've been hit up for violations either are somebody like Rashawn Holmes, who's playing for a team that does not have a chance in hell of winning a championship, or like Bruno, who does not have a chance of being an impactful player for a championship.
Right.
Like it's you're gonna know that either guys are really itching to get out or understand if, like James Harden, we were talking about it before, like all easy club jokes aside, like really gets hit up because he misunderstands the Postmates protocol. Like something like.
I mean, that's the stuff. Like when you look at the scenario for all these guys, like the NBA's been pretty strict with it all, and
oh yeah, and then they win again. I hope they come back.
He should have known this. We went over this several times. It's a matter of fact thing. Like, this isn't a secret. He screwed up. And, the Rashawn Holmes thing, crossing the line for Postmates. Like, I'm curious, is there are they actually labeling this of like, is there an actual physical border, or are these guys at certain points not able to see that, like, you can't go here?
Like Shawshank, where like there's a giant line of like painted on the ground, like
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Don't go past this. There does need to be like if not, it's kind of unfair. Like if you don't realize when you cross the line, like where did he end up? Andy, do we know where he ended up? Like, was he in St. Petersburg? Like, where was he off Disney property?
I mean, he was
Rashawn Holmes?
I think I'm guessing if it really was the Postmates thing that's being reported, and like Hassan Whiteside had a quote that referenced Postmates, I'm guessing he couldn't have been that far off the hotel, because otherwise you're defeating the purpose of Postmates.
Right.
I mean, like you might as well go pick it up at that point.
Right. I mean, it's a big place. If you get to the edge of the property, you're right.
I'm just saying, depending on how far you're wandering, I mean, go the extra mile, literally, and go to the place that you're picking this up from. What I want to know, though, is just what is worth, even unintentionally, intentionally, whatever, risking this from Postmates. Like, now that all of these guys are out of quarantine, and we're seeing that the food options are actually pretty good.
Yeah, the chefs are there.
Dude, PJ Tucker posted something on Instagram where he had a lobster tail and like a cowboy cut ribeye steak.
They're doing fine.
It was insane. Like, I mean, this was like Pablo Escobar style eating. I just realized
I'm still wearing my mask. Hold on a second.
But that was the stuff when the pictures first were coming out about the food. When these guys were in that,
you forget that you're wearing it. Like, I just leave it on all day, so if I leave the house or I go somewhere or whatever, I don't forget. Oh crap! I forgot my mask is like the new thing that makes you have to turn around and go home after you're Brian, 5 miles from your house.
It's funny because like I keep the mask in the car. I have a couple masks all over the place, and I have one in the car. And there have been probably like once a week, I will walk out of the car and start walking towards the grocery store or the Rite Aid, and then realize I don't have my mask, and then it's a dead sprint to the car. Because I'm like, God, I'm such an idiot. Like,
holding your breath.
It's one of those things. Yeah.
It's also too, you don't want to be mistaken as the guy that refuses to wear his mask
at all.
Even if you're just like, you're 50 feet from your mask. Like, all of a sudden, you're just going to have a bunch of people, like, rushing over and shaming you.
Hey,
my mask.
The Nerder She Wrote guy won't wear his mask.
Oh, if I ever got it recognized as the Nerder She
Wrote. Hey, Nerder, put on your damn mask.
Somebody call Dufois and tell him that Mo's not wearing his mask.
Yes. No, it's the other thing I found funny, too, is, like, I'll stop into Starbucks, pick up my normal thing, and as I'm walking with my mask, and I'll forget I have the mask, and I'm about to take a sip of my thing, be like, oh, wait a minute, that's not going to work. That's not how this works.
Yeah, I do hate that feeling of walking out and you realize you don't have the mask. Like I've done that so many times going just to walk the dog, and then I realize I don't have the mask, and I walk back in, leave the dog at the bottom of the stairs, and like the dog was just on the verge of peeing, and I have to bring her right back in. And it's basically
time bomb.
Yeah, she's being punished for my just lack of organization. I feel really bad about it.
So like, you think she's looking at you going like, you're an idiot, put on a mask?
Well, especially if she has a mask on. Right. The dog remembered to wear her mask.
How long do you think it'll take before we're all just like, it is like grabbing your keys or grabbing your wallet, that we're just good at it?
I don't think we're that far. I mean, I think, it's another month? I think it takes 30 days to create a habit, supposedly. So, like, if you go outside every day for 30 days.
Well, here's the thing, though. I don't think we can truly develop the habit of grabbing this wherever we go until we start going more places. Because right now we're actually not in the habit of, like, going anywhere on regular basis.
That's true.
Right.
Bayside.
That's fair.
Bayside. Is basis a word?
I don't think so.
I'll put it out on a poll.
I think that you just say basis. Like, we're not used to going anywhere on a regular basis.
That's true. I don't need a poll.
Yeah.
I think we solved this one.
Sometimes you don't need America to weigh in.
Not on everything.
Okay, so here's a question I had, though, regarding the bubble that I wanted you guys to weigh in on. Do you think, because we knew before they went to the bubble that there was going to be a hotline, do you think guys brought burners down to the bubble specifically for calling the hotline, just out of fear that it could possibly be traced back to your hotel room? Because if it goes back to your hotel room, they know it's you. Because you don't even have the excuse, well, someone else was in my room, because nobody's supposed to be in your room.
I wonder if that's actually a good idea. That'd be smart of the guys to bring the burner, because it's not like you could run to the payphone. There aren't any payphones anymore in Disney, and I imagine under these circumstances you don't have it.
Well, it's going to be obvious if you're using a payphone. What the hell else would you be using it for?
But it'd be even funnier if they just had like random phones around, kind of like the bat phone. You see some Kawhi Leonard on the bat phone.
But they're like this bright blue color or something like that. Like all the Snitch phones are like this glowing color.
They're not recording the calls, though, right?
They probably have to.
Don't they have to for quality assurance?
Oh, God, I want the audio to leak then. If that's the case, somebody needs to leak the audio.
Well, plus, too, I mean, when they eventually have you take the survey at the end to see what you thought of the hotline, they probably want to record it. But like, I would think that these guys wouldn't want the call to potentially get traced back to them. So I wonder if they just brought the burners.
I think they're all covered as long as Chris Paul's there. We saw what happens. Shams tweeted this out, and Chris Paul's name started to trend. Like, it may or may not have been him calling, but everybody's going to just assume it's him.
I mean, this is all based on the whole jersey tucking in thing.
Yeah, of course. But so I think everybody's just going to feel covered as long as CP's there.
I mean, look, all kidding aside, he's the president of the union. Like, I mean, it is kind of his job to make sure this thing doesn't fall apart. Easy jokes or whatever. Like, I would say nobody has more responsibility down in the bubble to supervise than Chris Paul among players.
It's very true in that sense. I think he's got a lot on the line too, and I think all of these guys. It's you said it earlier. It's the players have to police each other in this situation, in this scenario, and it's going to be hard a little bit. But this is the thing that they got to stay true to it if they're going to make this work. If we're going to get from July 14th to October 15th or whenever the finals are supposed to end. It's a long time, and these guys all got to buy into the system and understand it and work together on it. And you got to deal with the guys when they're not falling in line. And those that aren't falling in line, they got to get them out of the bubble.
What do you think is... go ahead, Andy.
I was just going to say really quick, I would want to use a burner just because I would want to snap it after I called. just to get rid of the thing.
I've always
I
wanted
really
to do
would
that.
have just
I've always wanted to do that.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
do something shady and take my flip phone and snap it and then throw it in a river.
Yes, I wanted to do this so badly.
But you're not going to do it with the iPhone. You're not going to take the iPhone and like stomp on it or anything like that.
But this happens. This happens when you are somebody like me who is decidedly, I don't have the capacity to be like an arch criminal, despite the fact that it would be really cool to be one. And so, like when I watched the first season of Narcos on Netflix, I totally missed the point because I'm sitting there going, "God, that looks awesome." Like watching Pablo Escobar, like this. I'm like, I think I'm rooting for the wrong people here. I'm back. What you want to hear something weird that just happened? So I have to do this on my phone now, and I put my phone and the thing too close to my button on my little toolbar on my computer that hits the Alexa button, and so it hit it, and then instead of coming up on my computer, it came up on my phone. So all kinds of weird things are happening. That's what happened right there. Anyway, who is the highest level player do you think could be framed for a violation? You can't go LeBron. Like you like, as everybody knows, like I saw LeBron out at the club. Like LeBron was not out at the club. Okay, so you can't, and they're not going to suspend LeBron for playing doubles ping pong. So like, but who do you think?
And LeBron's not calling Postmates,
right?
No.
So who do you think is the highest level guy that you could get?
Well, it would have to be
where it's plausible.
It'd have to be like a second option guy, and I don't think it's a guy like AD. I mean, I'm looking at it. Maybe it's somebody like Chris Middleton. Like he's just
level.
enough.
It's as high as you can go.
I think that's about as high because everybody else is going to be kind of too recognizable in terms of the big stars on each. Like you're not going to get Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons.
So it's got to be somebody who can just sort of blend in, and Chris Middleton is just anonymous enough looking.
Yeah, well, it's exactly that because it's not going to stand out. Like everybody's going to know when Ben Simmons is in the club.
You know what? I almost think you got to aim a little lower than that. Like the better the team, the lower down the roster you can aim. Like because the Lakers and Bucks, the policing, like Andy was saying, like the self-policing there is going to be super intense.
That's true.
A little further down, by the time you get down to I don't know who's the best player on the Orlando Magic. Do they have one? I mean, is it Evan Fournier? I mean,
Nikolai
Vucevic. Does anybody care if those guys break quarantine as long as they don't touch anyone else?
I'm not wasting a conspiracy on somebody from the Magic.
Right.
Like that's just a waste of everybody's time.
Is it how about Miles Turner? And this is no indictment of Miles Turner as a human being. I don't know him. I'm just talking about where he is in the league. Like he's not so good on a team that's so good, but he's pretty good. He's good enough that you'd want to knock him out if you were an Eastern Conference team.
He's a good one, I think.
Well, but is he, unless Oladipo plays, would he be considered the best player on the Pacers?
No, I still think
Brogdon's not playing, right? So that's one more
that's
guy.
why I'm
and then Domantas Sabonis is
okay. It'd be Sabonis, and then Turner would be number 2.
Yeah, I think so.
I feel like he's too high up, especially if Oladipo doesn't play. Like if you're going to have the Pacers in there, you can't sacrifice Turner in a frame up.
By the way, guys, I completely had forgotten about Brogdon. Like when I was doing all this, whenever I think about what's going on, it's so easy to forget who's playing, who's not, like who's been hurt, who hasn't been, it's been so long since they played basketball.
Well, I'll do you one better. For Bleacher Report, we did this great project of a fantasy basketball league where 30 writers put together, we're a GM of each team, and basically made a whole bunch of trades and all this stuff. and I was assigned to write the power rankings. So I had to go through all the trades. We did a draft. I had to go through the draft. It took me a month after that to figure out who was still on what teams, because some of the trades that would happen, like I would be looking at it going like, PJ Tucker's not on the Rockets anymore. He's on Sacramento. He got traded. Oh, that was a Bleacher Report project. That
wasn't real life.
Yeah. So now,
fake.
so there's still now a level of like, there are guys I've forgotten are still are on teams that are on different teams than I thought they are.
I 100% forgot until like 3 weeks ago that Dion Waiters was on the Lakers. Absolutely 100% forgot because we never saw him.
He didn't play.
The big mystery that I've been, I don't want to say trying because I put no effort into it, but I've really hoped that somebody else would emerge with this story. I've wanted to know where Dion Waiters spent his quarantine because he arrived in LA, and a lot of times these guys are in hotels at the beginning until they eventually find somewhere to live. And if you're someone like Dion Waiters, you're talking about, pre-pandemic, talking about living somewhere 3 to 4 months max. So I don't know if he'd had that set up. And then once the quarantine happened, and like everything started locking down, like it's going to be harder to find somewhere to live. I know these guys have hookups, but it still becomes more difficult. Like I've been wondering, like, is Dion Waiters spent his whole time in a hotel just to go to another hotel?
He was couch surfing.
But like, you can only do so much couch surfing because everyone's supposed to be distant from each other. I mean, like, did he maybe spend time like in a spare, I don't know, section of LeBron's house? Like, I really wanted to know what became of Dion during the pandemic.
Well, I mean, that's got to be the big question whenever we get him on one of the Zoom pressers. Because that's going to be at some point he's going to come on, right? Like,
well, and now, like, there was a possibility that we'd never hear from the guy, but now that Rondo and Avery Bradley are out, like, Dion could play. Like, suddenly Dion Waiters being okay for the Lakers is not it's I'm not saying it's like the most important thing, and there's still a chance that he doesn't get a ton of burn. But it's not a negligible thing anymore. And for a while, if everybody's there, how good Dion Waiters is really an afterthought. Now it almost kind of matters.
No, I mean, he matters. J.R. Smith matters to a degree. Like, these are guys that we probably thought were fighting for minutes just amongst themselves. I mean, Vogel said it in his last presser that, like, he's going to be looking at Waiters a little bit as a possible another ball handler, and wants to see what he has in him in these games leading up to the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to watch kind of how this whole thing happens. But that's why you sign these guys. These guys are meant to be in case stuff happens. They're insurance policies.
Well, here's what's interesting about Waiters. Like, he's not a brilliant playmaker by any stretch, and that's not what he's known for doing, even though he is actually pretty good with the ball. The last full 2 seasons that he played in Miami, he averaged 4 assists per 30 minutes, which on this team this year would have put him only behind LeBron and Rondo for assists.
Yeah.
And Rondo obviously is not an option for a round, maybe 2. So take it for however you will. But on this team, Waiters might actually be one of the better playmakers, or certainly among the best playmaking wings, if nothing else. Again, take it for what you will.
No, it's definitely going to be something that's they're going to have to tap into a little bit when it comes to Waiters, is just his ability to kind of create for others. Because we know, look, J.R. Smith's not going to do that. We know that's not
likely not.
No. We know that's not Kuz's game. That's not in, Alex Caruso hasn't really shown that.
No,
we don't. It has to come down to Waiters is going to have to.
Quinn Cook
I think
Caruso.
I actually think Caruso is a little more capable of that stuff than he's being given credit for. But he's still not. It's going to be a committee.
He's not established,
right? You don't just go from okay, well, Rondo can't do it, so Caruso will. He's not a point guard in that way.
But the one thing I did point it out in my last article I wrote about the Lakers is that, look, when the playoffs come around, though, LeBron's going to be playing 40-something minutes a game. So it's really, can you find a guy that can just make a couple of can get the ball to Anthony Davis?
This is about the 7 minutes a game. It's a 7 or 8 minutes a game that LeBron doesn't.
Here's the problem. we've seen a lot of evidence this year that those 7 minutes really matter. Oh, like, they're really important.
Massively. We saw how bad the offense drops off.
Things can go sideways in those 7 minutes on this team. Pretty damn quick.
No, I actually, it's not at all ridiculous to think that do you beat the Clippers, do you beat the Bucks? Just starting with those teams is entirely based on what's the team's net rating when in the 7 minutes, 6 minutes a game where LeBron doesn't play.
Well, that's the key. Like the Lakers are going to have to find a way to stay even with teams in those minutes when LeBron goes to the bench, and we're talking like 3 or 4 minutes in the first half. 3 or 4 minutes in the second half. Like it's one of those kinds of scenarios. So it's in the LeBron-less minutes. Can they find a way? They don't have to extend a lead. They just can't blow a lead. And they can't
or fall another 20 points behind. Right.
Yeah, further behind. It's can they just break even or stay, -1 or +1 in that scenario. That's all they need in those couple minutes each half.
I will say, like, the Lakers are probably in a better position. We all know LeBron in the playoffs typically plays whatever it is, 42 minutes a night and whatever. But we also know he's 35, and he's still LeBron. We showed this year that any predictions of his demise were a little premature. But at the same time, like, do you want at age 35 to have to put that on him for 4 rounds of the playoffs? And I think
he's averaged 40. Yeah, you said 42 minutes on his career, 42 on the nose.
So I do think the Lakers will be able to squeeze an extra minute or two out of him every game because of not having to travel.
I'm looking right now at his basketball reference page. LeBron's first year in the playoffs. Do you know how many minutes per game he averaged over 13 games?
It was 46. Like 46.
46.5. Like at that point, why are you taking him off the court?
Oh, he probably had to pee. Run back to the locker room.
Coach,
those 90 seconds, like just playing the whole thing.
I gotta go. You don't want to wet yourself while you're playing.
You know what it was though? It was like the last 30 seconds of the first quarter where they felt like if we give him a rest now, if we take him out, it'll be 30 seconds plus the quarter break.
Right,
so
exactly. You do that like twice a game.
Yeah,
but like we were talking about the bubble and all that stuff. But like aside from like missing your family and not having your kids around and the routine of that and being, guys like LeBron probably dig the fact that I mean it's a little bit boring, but all he's going to do anyway is just go home and get therapy and do all that other stuff. So now he doesn't have to fly. Right, he doesn't have to fly. He doesn't have to. He can do all of his treatment while he's there. He can do and get some sleep. Like. Physically, LeBron could come through this playoffs better than he has in ones where he's 3 or 4 or 5 years younger, just because they don't have to go anywhere. I think it's a huge advantage for the Lakers.
But it's also easier to plan the recovery.
Yes.
The plans after the game. How are you doing it? Getting the massage and things like that. Whereas, when you're in the playoffs, like the first game, obviously you're staying over. You're going to be playing game 2 or game 4 in the same place. But after that, you're traveling and you're flying. You're going to the next place and things like that. So it allows them to be able to put in motion a whole plan. That's something that they can continue to do the whole way through as if they're at home for the next 2 months, and put that plan together. And they get to kind of put that troubleshoot it now. And by the time the playoffs roll around, they'll have the whole thing figured out for LeBron exactly what he wants, the way he wants it configured.
In his prime, do you think? I mean, he's too far into his career now to make this happen. But like in his absolute prime, because this works so well for LeBron, do you think he could have forced the NBA to do the playoffs in a bubble even without the quarantine, even without a pandemic? It's like, look, this is the way I need it. This is what's best for me. This is how we're doing it. I'm the most powerful athlete in North American sports, and we are going to do our playoffs in a bubble, not for health concerns, but just because this is what works best for me. Otherwise, I'm not participating.
I don't think he can pull it off, but I'd love to see the commissioner that would have to tell him no. Or if it's David Stern, there's no.
That's true.
What's coming back to LeBron is not going to be friendly at all. If it's Silver, I just want to see him have to say no in a very nice way.
I gotta say,
like, how many players would it take?
Ooh, that's a good one.
To demand the bubble. Like, if they decide they really like the bubble.
If we're going to do this every year for the playoffs.
Yeah, they decide they prefer it this way. Like, this, you know what? We should have been doing it. Like, we want the pandemic to end up.
Sure, we were really skeptical, but it turns out we love it.
Yeah, like, I mean, obviously we want a global pandemic to end, but this is the way we always should have been doing it. This is how we prefer it. Like, how many A-list players would have to stand up to make that happen?
All of them. I think this is not an easy feat to pull off. Like, this is just think about what it's costing the league and all of those things. Like, it's
CBA is approaching.
I'd love to just be in that. Again, I just want to be on the fly on the wall.
You know,
when they have that in the negotiations.
Here's how you convince Adam Silver to do this. You ask him, Commissioner, at any point, have you ordered your liquor online at vsliquor.com? Because if you haven't, 15% off your first order, that's for you. And in exchange for that information, we would like to have the playoffs in a bubble every year in perpetuity. And so you slide him that little mention. He gets 15% off his order at VS Liquor, the easiest way to have liquor delivered to your door, and you're good to go.
Now, is VS Liquor going to... They're not going to cause any problems for the guys to have to go back into quarantine, right?
Interesting point.
I don't know.
Like,
yeah, we've discussed
VS
this.
Liquor, VS Liquor will deliver O'Doul's to you if you ask them.
I think actually the way you do this is you just coordinate it with the league. You have the league order it. VS Liquor pulls up. Well, I mean, because they're going to be bringing things from outside the bubble into the bubble because just eventually you run out of stuff. Right. And then you have whatever procedure it is for, the beer that we've seen Myers Leonard, chugging at an almost alarming pace.
Yeah, I have questions about that. We talk about heat culture, being in shape, all these guys, body fat. This dude's just counting beers left and right. Like, he knows games are coming, right? Like, he knows he has to play beer pretty soon.
I actually was more struck by how much Myers Leonard's voice sounds like it comes from the body of Myers Leonard. Like, okay, that sounds like a 7 foot tall, 240-pound person, or 250 pounds, whatever he is. Like, it's like deep and resonant, and like okay, that makes sense.
It matches.
That works.
Yeah.
He fits the bill. Like, you could cast him as Myers Leonard. Like, he absolutely fits the bill. But, like, maybe he's just trying to get a Coors Light deal, like something like that. Like, he recognizes the social media impact because he's gone viral with these shotguns. But, like, Myers Leonard, do you think the Heat's watching this going like, geez, does this guy drink this much?
Yeah,
or is this just like screwing around with Redick?
Like, is Pat Riley watching this going like, somebody want to get Myers on the phone, please?
When was the last time you guys shotgunned a beer?
I've never.
Do you remember the procedure at this point? Like, could you do it? Like, I don't even mean like, could you get it down without making a mess? But like, do you literally remember how to shotgun a beer?
Yeah.
Okay, Mo, do you?
No.
You take like a knife or something that is sharp.
I always used a pen.
I found a pen sometimes kind of frustrating. I usually just wanted to cut to the chase with something sharper.
I'm more of a ninja.
Right, you hold the can. Well, I think the sure thing popularized the pen because there's the shotgunning the beer scene and
right. And I also feel like there's much more potential for like ending up in the hospital when you use
with
a
the knife. Right? Is it a Crocodile Dundee style knife? Like, are you pulling out
it's a machete
looking? Yeah.
Yes.
I always used a katana when I was in college for that.
But you use something sharp. You hold the can sideways, stab it, around the middle or so, then carefully tip it up, then pull the tab at your mouth and suck the thing down. It's not a complicated procedure.
Better utensil for prepping to shotgun the can to
David
beer.
David, I can't read his last name.
Dufois.
Periscope. Dufois. David Dufois recommends keys can also work.
Oh,
yes.
Keys. Oh, that's good. So
keys are actually pretty good.
I'm gonna do one knife, 2, pen, and then I'm going to add keys because that's a good one. How do I add as well?
No, keys. I've used keys before. But yes,
or chainsaw.
Or chainsaw. You got to be exact. You got to be like Bill Murray in Groundhog Day. You know, when he's doing the ice sculpture. Like, you got to really have control.
Yeah,
but it's not impossible, I suppose. But it's not hard to shotgun a beer. I mean, to be totally honest,
I think I could do it now if I needed to.
I know
I wouldn't want to. You know what I was really,
when's the next
really
VS
good
Liquor,
at?
Promo coming up.
I don't pretend like I'm some guy who just used to drink people. I went to college, I think it helped that we all Andy started drinking when he was about 7. I started in high school, so I didn't realize when I got to college that some people had never had alcohol before. They never drank in high school. I just assumed everyone did, except for the nerds at my school. But I assumed all the people once you got to college, everybody drank. So I was just more used to it or whatever. The one thing I was really, really good at were boat races. I could anchor a boat race where you have to do the chugging. Right. I was really good at that. I couldn't drink 40 beers with somebody and just go, shot by shot and whatever. But for that thing, chugging down, really quickly taking down, a pint, I was really good at it.
That's your game.
I don't even remember what a boat race is.
It's basically, almost like a relay kind of. You got to go up and down the line, chugging beers.
Boy, that's one of those things that ends in the age of COVID. COVID. If nothing else, because you look for any type of silver lining, of any kind when it comes to just how bad this has been and how devastating it's been, and the toll that's been taken on so many different levels. But for example, in baseball, the different rules that are going on in baseball, including no spitting, the no sunflower seeds. If you're looking for a positive in this COVID age with baseball, it's that I think it actually could be the thing that totally eliminates smokeless tobacco from baseball.
Right.
Because they were moving in that direction, but it hadn't been completely taken out of the game.
You're not allowed to spit anymore.
Right. You're not allowed to spit. You're not going to have the smokeless tobacco. And that, I almost cussed. That stuff is gross. It is the grossest.
It's really disgusting.
Yes, it is quite possibly the grossest habit on the planet. So, and it's terrible for people. So, that could be gotten rid of. We're going to start looking at certain things that we used to do that were incredibly communicable with germs and be all right, let's put the kibosh on that. Yeah. And that's going to include, some drinking games that, might have been fun, but in reality, we could do without. We'll survive without those games.
Maybe it was a regional thing, but I don't know where you grew up, but when you would greet people,
where did you grow up?
I grew up in LA. I'm in LA kid.
Oh, you're a native. Okay. So did you guys lick each other as a greeting when you would see each other after seeing nobody does that anymore.
We've evolved from the canine.
I just made that up. We didn't do that in St. Louis either.
I didn't. I don't want to speak for you.
I now think you guys totally did that in St. Louis, and I think you might still do it.
So where in LA did you grow up?
I grew up in the Valley. I'm an Encino man.
Nice.
So but just the idea of the handshake. I'm very curious where what's going to happen with that. Are we, how long
do we
until
go back to it? I know people are we should never have been shaking hands before. It's disgusting. It's filthy. If
Michael Thompson.
Right. If the world is that dangerous that we can't go back after there's a vaccine and after all these things that we can't go back and start shaking. We really still shouldn't be going outside.
Yeah, we still have issues. We're still
right.
Not
it's
safe.
Maybe I think maybe we all take hand washing a little more seriously or whatever it is. Yeah. But at some point, shaking hands was not that dangerous. It wasn't especially if people really washed. The problem was that we didn't wash our hands enough as a society. Not that shaking hands is somehow this horrible habit.
Yeah, no, that's the bigger issue, right? Like, how many times have you been to a restroom and you've seen a person go in and go out, and you're like,
I have a friend who does not wash his hands after he pees because his response is, "I didn't pee on my hand."
it's like, nah, but like,
That's
okay,
not how this works.
yeah, this is just like, all right, that's
But some of this, though, is like for something like handshakes, for example, we may just start to realize, I could live without them, or somebody like me who often doesn't want to have to, engage with other people. The hand being extended can force you into it.
Well,
If you shine someone's handshake, then you really become a jerk, as opposed to just being able to sort of drift past them.
You know what it eliminates? It does eliminate the awkwardness of like when do you shake hands? Are we bro hugging? Like what do we like that? Because if you put out the handshake, and I'm trying to aim myself like this, and the other guy gives you one of these, then you got to go from here to here, and then you're like. And I always do it wrong. I always misread like what the situation is. And so if nobody's shaking hands anymore, the awkward moment where you're not sure if you're bro hugging is eliminated.
And the older we get, the more we mess these things up.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you mixed signals every time I see you now, Brian, just for the fun of the whole, I'm going to come in with the handshake.
I have no interest in shaking your hand anyway, so that doesn't matter. It's fine.
Oh, I'm coming for you anyways. When this is all over and it's safe, that's the caveat to it all.
But what will go away and what will come back?
Yeah, I think high fives are coming back. I don't think that's going away. I think ultimately, the handshake's going to come back. I think we'll be maybe more deliberate with it, but I think these things are going to. I think everything eventually.
Well, if we don't
will
shake
come
hands,
back.
how will we know if we're armed? That's why. That's where it came from. That's why you used to shake hands, is so people knew you weren't armed.
I did not know that.
That is
See,
true.
I'm learning something here. We're new to this.
Do you
But
think
I'm not sure.
does the ass slap come back?
No,
That's actually safe, though. I mean, assuming the person
you are not supposed to do that in baseball.
Well, but I'm just saying, it's safe.
Well, no. What if they're sat on COVID?
Haven't we learned that the odds of that are fairly low just in terms of surface transfer?
You want to mess
especially
with
on cloth?
You want to mess with the odds, Andy?
I mean, I may be wrong. I'm really asking. Hasn't some of the research come out?
It does seem to be lower risk.
I feel like, if anything, we should be encouraging it to replace handshakes. Because it's safer.
Yeah, but now in this day and age, Andy's probably not the best time.
Right, stuff that came before COVID-19 still applies.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying we should, because it is a bad idea. I'm saying...
Because there's somebody out there going, "Sorry, ladies, it's the only option we have now."
No, I'm saying from a purely safety standpoint, not like an integrity or societal standpoint.
It is probably safer than shaking hands.
Yes, it is. It is more inappropriate. And
yes,
now that I think this out loud,
you see where you went wrong. You see where this went wrong.
It shouldn't be replacing it. But from a safety standpoint, maybe it should. So if we were all better people, there's no
level of integrity you can reach where an ass slap as a greeting becomes okay.
You lose the integrity points with every slap. So
right.
You're not.
This Andy is very similar to your indoor misting system.
No, I'm still on that.
So Mo, Andy's great invention was this idea where instead of air conditioning, which is very expensive, you say, outside during the summertime, sometimes you'll see in places you'll have the outdoor misting system. He thought you could put one of those inside, both really, really high. But came up with the idea that you could put one of those indoors. And I will say the only good thing about the idea is the name, which Andy is
Mr.
I like that.
Right. I'm like, that part I like. The actual event, and so
But you know what I saw though. I don't remember. It might have been in England. It was somewhere. It was somewhere outside the States. But there was an idea being considered where concert venues would open up, but you would walk in and there would be these misting systems, but instead of spraying, misted water, they were spraying like misted sanitizer, like helping people go, just like one more layer of protection. And I was like, all right, who's laughing at Mr. Mister now?
Well, what's funnier about that, Andy, this whole thing is I actually have a buddy who's working on a system with drones and doing this. Like he literally, like he has his. This is one of my friends he's kind of like Barney from How I Met Your Mother, except every time I talk to him, he has a new business, and he's and this is one of them, and it's exactly that with drones and being able to sanitize concert venues, stadiums, movie theaters, whole deal with a concoction that they have that they supposedly can eradicate, like everything.
How would this work?
Is the name of the company Mr. Mister?
It's Mrs. But
I see what you did there.
Yeah, every now and then I'm clever. I'm not sure. I actually am not fully sure. And he's told me that they're making a video of it.
Okay, I want
the product. I want it. So I've told them. I said you have to send me the video when you get it, because if you have proof of concept and this actually works, I might know some people who could be in need of this.
Yeah, look. Misting is so refreshing. It's more refreshing than air conditioning. I feel like, you put it in just one corner of the house that has like a different type of flooring.
Tile, preferably.
Tile. Something like that.
It's your bathroom. It's a bathroom thing.
Yes, it's like a bathroom type. It's like a bathroom type setup in just one part of your house. Like, how refreshing would it be just to watch something on TV in your mister? Like, just all just some, refreshing. It'd be wonderful. I think that'd be terrific.
See, I prefer the air conditioning just because I don't the at a certain point I just would like to be dry and not wet. I just feel like
that's when you leave. That's when you leave the mister. When you've had enough, you leave.
You have to get a towel. Like, it's just too much work there for me on that one.
All right, well, we'll workshop it.
I like where you're heading with it.
I'm making a poll for that one too. Andy's idea for an indoor misting system to cool off indoors is a good idea.
You have to include the name of the company though, because the name of the company is a big draw. Now, the name of the system.
Now, have you already trademarked
the name does not make it a good idea, Andy.
No, but you need to make sure you have the website. Like, I want to make sure this is a success for you here, Andy.
Well, I feel like I've already given away the farm talking about it on this platform.
You just got to act quick right now. I mean, this is
a very a widely viewed program, Mo. I mean, the idea is out there.
Oh, I scared them all away with the mustache and the hair as soon as they popped on.
Now, Andy, just so I don't taint the poll. Is it MR period, MISTER, or do you actually write out Mr. twice? Or do you do MR?
No. That's confusing. It would be, I believe, MRP. Yeah, it's MRP Mister. Because I want it to be exactly like the band.
The band, right. Okay, Mister.
So okay. MR, yeah, exactly.
We'll go back here for a second and update the poll. By the way, this show has really flown by. We haven't gotten to half of the questions that I had. Better utensil for prepping the can to shotgun a beer. Pen is third at 9.7%. So my chosen instrument is only at under 10%. Knife, 22.3%. I think those are all people with good insurance. And then keys are the runaway winner with 68%.
There you go.
Keys it is, sure. Folks. And then after shotgunning the beer, the key can be used for a key shot. This from Moses Garcia. What is a key shot?
Yeah, I've never heard this.
I have no idea what that is.
What is a key shot?
All right, Mo, we both wanted to ask you about this Ben Simmons to the 4 thing.
Yep.
Him.
Oh.
Do you think
A key shot is when you have a powdered recreational substance like meth or coke that you insert the key into the bag, in which amounts to a little bump. It's
okay.
I mean, look, I'm not judging Moises Garcia. He can do what he wants.
Thank you, Urban Dictionary.
But I feel like the problem with that is once you use the key, the shotgun, if you then turn around and use it for
you got to dry it off.
I was going to say, you have to dry it off. Otherwise, you're dissolving your powdered drug of choice.
Yeah, I tell you what's a lot easier is just to have your liquor delivered to you from vsliquor.com and ignore the powdered drugs, which, by the way, can get you sent to prison.
Yes.
VS Liquor is nobody's going to prison when you put sports in the checkout code and get 15% off your first order. You're not going to prison. You're getting money back. You're saving for your retirement.
You should be going to prison because it's such a great deal.
It's almost criminal.
It's almost criminal. It's such a great deal. So what do you think this does for Philly? This is interesting just because they haven't been able to quite figure out the Embiid-Simmons thing.
I think this really opens up the floor for them. I think Shake Milton as a point guard does a good job. Right before the quarantine, when Philly was in town, he had a monster game against the Clippers where I think he had 33 or 34 points. But what this really does is putting Simmons as the roller. Like, we thought Draymond Green was the king of the short roll and finding guys like this is Draymond times 10. Like, Simmons with his vision and his athleticism, like, this is a serious problem for teams. It'll open things up. You'll still have Embiid down on the block, but now it's a scenario where off the screen, if a team tries to double Milton, if he's got it going, or just the big man has to hedge or anything like that, you hit Simmons with the pocket bounce pass at the free throw line, he's going to have an option of, hitting the guys in the corner or Embiid up top for a dunk, or for him himself to take it right into the lane for a dunk. So I think it kind of opens things up. Now, there's going to be a period of working it out and figuring this whole thing as they're going, doing stuff like this on the fly with, a 2-week shortened training camp, 3 scrimmages, 8 games, and then right into the playoffs. It's a tough thing to fully have that chemistry locked in, but I like where they're going with it. I think it's a good idea and something that they should I really hope they would have done it earlier.
If nothing else, Milton put up a lot of points when he was playing. I mean, the guy can score for sure.
You have to defend him in the pick and roll. Like, it's not like you can just lay off of him and think like, okay, we'll just go with Ben or we'll play the pick and roll straight up. Like, that's where he's going to start to hurt you. Because and then you're in trouble.
People have been waiting for the thing that, it's not that Philadelphia's been bad this year. They haven't been, but they've sort of been like kind of vaguely disappointing. And everybody's waiting for them to just have that run where they look completely dominant because they have Simmons and they have Embiid and, a good roster around those guys. But is this the kind of thing that, or at least could be a template for next year, where they come out and just dominate the Eastern Conference because they finally figured out whatever the right formula is?
Yeah, no. Like, I still think ultimately, look, the roster construction of this team is quite weird in the sense of they just don't have shooters, like enough guys where you're so afraid of them up from the outside. And everybody's always talking about they should break up Simmons and Embiid. I'm like, no, just build a proper roster around those two guys. And I think this is a good template for next season. This is something else you can do, and I think ultimately as a team, you want to be able to play many different ways. You want to be able to. They're not going to do this all game. Simmons is still going to have the ball and run pick and rolls himself because he's pretty damn good at that as well as a ball handler. So I think this just is another wrinkle that forces teams to have to figure out how they're going to defend it when they go to this. And I think this is just along those lines. This is going to kind of just open things up. And again, if it's working, you're not going to change it too much. You're going to go into it next season with the same thing, maybe with a different guard or whatnot, or somebody else that's more deadly. But I think ultimately this team it's been built weird. And
when you say open things up, can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean, like sort of the how? Because in theory, they're still left with the same shooting issues with spacing the floor, particularly when Simmons doesn't have the ball in his hands. He's not a threat from outside. Like, how specifically do you see things opening up with that?
Well, like the way I look at it, Andy, is like when he has the ball and they're running the pick and roll, and as good as he is, if they're running a high pick and roll, they're sagging still way off, and
Right.
there's no threat of him pulling up. Like, he's either going to make a pass or he's going to drive to the rim. So you don't have to worry too much of him coming off and hitting an elbow jumper, not even
Right.
a three, just in that
true.
sense. So
That's
I
true.
think having him as a screener, and then he's going to catch the ball, say at the free throw line with a live dribble. Like, now that's an issue, and that's where it kind of draws attention. And really, that's the most dangerous place the offense can get the ball in, is getting it at that free throw line, because there's just so many different areas you can attack.
So are you picturing something kind of similar to what we used to see with the Lakers like a decade ago, when you have those combinations of like Kobe, Powell, and Odom, or Kobe, Powell, and Bynum, where it's starting off with Kobe, you can deliver the ball to either Elo or Gasol around, the mid post, something like that. And then, those guys are such good ball handlers, and you've always got the lurking presence of another big, like something like that. Is that what you're picturing?
Yeah, because I just don't think it's not smart to always have Embiid, spread out. I mean, he can hit the three, shoots it pretty well at like 34%.
I think you're doing teams a favor.
He's just dominant around the rim.
But yeah, you want him down low, because I mean, forget about just scoring. He just gets you in foul trouble. He puts you in the bonus quicker and things like that. So I think it's just a matter of him and Ben finding the synergy of how to make this work. Because think about it this way: this could be one of the most dynamic high-low games we're gonna see. I mean, the last time I saw a high-low tandem that really killed it was Marc Gasol and Zach Randolph.
Yeah.
And they had good chemistry in the sense of finding the passes and things like that. And even then, you can talk about it being a bit congested. But I think what matters is the guys on the outside, when it's Tobias Harris, Josh Richardson, Furkan Korkmaz, those guys have to be hitting shots, because that's where the help's really going to come in from. And if they're not hitting shots, then this becomes an issue, because now they can just crowd everybody in the paint, and dare those guys to make shots. And that's where the game's really going to come down to for the Sixers. Can those guys hit enough corner threes to keep defenses honest?
Yeah, the Lakers actually may be dealing with some of that as well. Like I wrote a piece that's going to be up, I think, on the Athletic tomorrow. The 3-point, yes, yes. This is.
I approve.
Success at the Athletic and other places is how I build my seed money for Mr. Mister. Like that. That's how I eventually have the company take off. But like the Lakers, they've never been a great 3-point shooting team this whole season. But heading into what the suspended part of the season, they were by their standards not hitting from outside particularly well.
It's getting real ugly.
With the exceptions being LeBron and AD, as two of the three guys hitting, I think it was above 37%. And while it's great that those guys are hitting outside shots, in a perfect world, you want everyone spacing the floor for them, not the other way around. Like, you don't want Anthony Davis or LeBron to be saddled with actually having to, stretch the floor, or just represent that type of threat. And, Avery Bradley had been one of the better guys on the team, and he's obviously not an option. Danny Green had been fine, but, KCP had very quietly, his shooting started tailing off after, a really, really good, first few months. It started tailing off. Kuzma, the last 10 games, shot 14% from behind the arc. Like, there are a bunch of guys in the – it's not great. There are a bunch of guys in the 20s. So, and, you don't know what, if anything, will carry over. But it's something they do have to be conscious of. Like, they need – I'll trust Danny Green just from his track record, but they need one other guy who isn't LeBron or AD to be, to provide some type of gravity.
That's where J.R. Swish comes in.
Nice. He'll be the first to tell you that.
Yes, sir.
I like it.
Yes, sir.
I like it. All right. Mo Dakhil, as we established earlier in the show, thank you for clearing that up. I mean, you're entitled to come onto this program. I mean, honestly, yes, we are big enough deals that you are correct. You should just be happy to be here, and we can pronounce your name however the hell we want. But that, it is still something that we should at least know how to do correctly if we choose to. So I'm very pleased that we now know. This was a lot of fun. Like, that hour just like gone. This was a lot of fun. Again, vsliquor.com, easiest way to have liquor delivered to your door. 15% off when you put sports into the checkout code. Tomorrow night, Dave Damashek. We'll talk some NFL with the Sheck. Did anybody ever call him that?
Fun.
I don't know.
I think actually, really yes. I think so, actually.
Okay, good.
All kidding aside, I think people
did.
We'll ask him tomorrow.
But I wasn't positive.
Yeah, he's fun, man. He's hilarious.
So that'll be a good show, and Andy Bernstein's coming on Friday, so that'll be an interesting conversation as well. So
again, Mo, thank you.
Mo. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for having me.
I will see everybody next time.